Hey, if you're on the struggle bus right now, totally exhausted because you're trying to live the Christian life in your own strength, by the end of this video, you're going to understand the secret to ending spiritual exhaustion anytime it creeps up. All comes down to understanding these three components and learning how to implement them into your life. It's going to be by transforming your relationship with Jesus as you understand, one, how to relate to him personally, like what's that even mean? Two, how do you see yourself in him? What is your perspective of yourself and what's the right perspective to have? And then three, how do you connect with others through him? And now let's talk about how your relationship with Jesus changes your relationship with yourself. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in love? Think about that. Think about when you fell in love with somebody that you really cared about. You got that in mind? There is a big difference between trying to become someone worthy of that person's love and being changed by them actually loving you. Real love isn't fake. Real love is not an act. Real love adds to who you are and makes you a new version of yourself. Have you ever thought of it that way? Hopefully a better version of yourself, because you start seeing yourself through the eyes of the one who loves you. That's powerful. That's what happens when you're connected to Jesus. But the big difference between this and that is that when you give your life to Jesus, his opinions of you aren't just added to who you are. When you give your life to Jesus, when you start that relationship with him, Jesus gives you a whole new identity in him. That's why Jesus goes on to tell his disciples, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last." Hey, if you're finding this helpful, make sure to hit subscribe so that new episodes just like it about growing closer to God know exactly where to find you each week. Here's what I'm getting at, and I think what Jesus is getting at. God didn't connect you to him for your benefit alone. Yes, you're going to benefit from knowing God and from staying connected to him, but God connected you to Jesus so that his life would flow through you to impact others. This is your identity now. He says you are chosen. This is your purpose now. You've been chosen for this purpose, to bear fruit in the lives of others. And not just any fruit that's of your own will and your own strength that just kind of is going to eventually rot and die and fade away. He says this is eternal fruit. This is fruit for now and for eternity to come. And I think this is what he's saying. As you know God and as you trust God, two other incredibly important things are happening as far as your discipleship goes. One is about your identity. This is how you will know who you are, who your identity is in Christ, only by knowing God and trusting God. But it's also going to be how you grow in understanding your purpose, how you can be who God created you to be. So not only does our connection with Jesus inform our identity and our purpose, being connected to Jesus is the only way to know your true identity and purpose. And the point isn't just to have self-confidence. This life isn't about self-discovery or figuring out what the point of all of it is. You're given identity and purpose for a very specific reason. There's this passage in 2 Corinthians that I think displays this perfectly. The Apostle Paul is saying this. He says, "Therefore, in order to keep me from becoming conceited." Now already, that to me is evidence of Jesus, because what Paul is saying is, look, I get that I've been a part of some amazing things. Paul is incredibly intelligent. He is a student. He knows all about like the law. He gets saved by Jesus. Second is he has been a major player in this church planting movement. He has been going all over the place, helping people follow Jesus, starting churches. And then as he's traveling around, he's writing letters to them. Now, I don't think he knew this next part, but we know that those letters become like half of the New Testament. So he's a part of a lot of really amazing things. And to have the ability to think, well, maybe that there's these circumstances now that are happening in my life because God doesn't want me to become boastful. He doesn't want me to become arrogant. He wants me to remember that who he is and who I am in him, right? So that identity and that purpose. And so already he's saying this could be for the purpose that of keeping me from being conceited. All right, Joshua, what are you talking about? This is what he says. I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. That doesn't sound right. He's doing all these incredible things. Why would the Lord give him a thorn in his flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment him? But he has the ability, because he knows who God is, and because he has had this experience of trusting God, that the conclusion he comes to quickly is maybe God has a reason, and maybe that reason really is good for me. 3 times, Paul says, I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. 3 times. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Let me ask you this. What would your response be? Leave it in the comments, because I would really love to know. And be honest, if that's you and you've been doing all this great work for the Lord, and in return, he gives you a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan, and 3 times you plead for him to remove it, and his response is no, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness. What would you say? I know what I would say. And it would be something along the lines of, I'm out. I mean, I really do. I think I would struggle not to just throw up my hands and give up and walk away. But check out Paul's response. This is key to what we're talking about. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Hold on, are you telling me that I have to become some punching bag? No, I'm saying this is incredible. Paul is not a punching bag. I mean, he got beat to tar a few different times, but not because he's some Matt and he's letting people walk all over him, but because the perspective shift that has come from following Jesus has changed his priorities. He has a new identity. He has a new purpose, and that is compelling him to endure things that I can't imagine enduring, and then respond to them in ways I can't imagine responding. Think about that. I delight in weaknesses. That is wacky. Who says that? Who thinks that? I delight in insults. That I don't. Do you? He says, I delight in hardships. I mean, I feel like most of my life is trying to be comfortable, but he delights in hardships. I delight in persecutions. That one is so wild to me because it's so unfair. Persecution is so unjust and unfair. I delight in difficulties. He doesn't argue with God. He doesn't push back on God. He says, okay, God, I trust you. I've trusted you before. I'm going to trust you again. I know you're good. I know you're good now. I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to believe that when I'm weak, then I'm strong. That's what I'm going to boast in. Not me, not my efforts, not my successes, not my visions and my dreams. I'm going to boast in my weakness because I know that's when you're strong. And so that's when I'm strong. There is no way he came to this conclusion on his own. There's no way that response is Paul's natural response. It can only be because it's Jesus alive in him, living through him. That is evidence that he is connected to Jesus in the way that Jesus is telling his followers to stay connected to him. This is why we're connected to Jesus, to do what only those connected to him can do so that he gets all the glory. That is the point. And it is a point that we miss all the time. For most of my life, I've been getting this backwards. I still get this backwards all the time. I still catch myself thinking, if I can just perform well enough as a dad, as a pastor, as a husband, you name it, if I can just do better, then maybe God will be pleased with me. That is so exhausting because I'm trying to earn something that's already mine. He's already given it to me, and yet here I am trying to earn it. I understand now what I didn't understand then. That was evidence that I wasn't really connected to Jesus. Now, I had been saved. I was someone who had put my faith in Jesus, and he had given me a new heart. But along the way, there were so many different ways where I was trying to do my thing that I was separating myself from him practically, spiritually. I wasn't connected with him. I was connected to the idea of being a good Christian. And in those moments when we finally understand that Jesus chose us first, not based on anything we have done or could ever do, he's chosen us because he loves us, that's when everything shifts. That's when you experience peace instead of angst. That's when you experience rest instead of exhaustion. That's when you can boast in the hardships and the insults and the persecutions and find strength in your weakness. And man, that gives Christ glory. You discover who you are in Christ by staying connected to him. Your purpose flows out of your identity in him, not your effort for him. When you know who you are in relationship with him, you stop trying to prove yourself to him or anybody else, and you just receive his life-giving love. But look, here's what took me years to understand. My relationship with Jesus, good or bad, it's not supposed to end with me. It's not supposed to end with you. It's supposed to flow through you and completely transform how you relate to everyone else. And that's what we're talking about in part 3. So check it out and I'll see you there.